Hello and welcome to our little guide on how to add animated objects to poses. We are going to use a cigarette, which we from now on will refer to as the object, and we want to rig it in between our index and our middle finger to the index finger, to the inside of the index finger to be specific. And we want it to appear automatically as we call the pose in-game. So I will show you step by step how this works, and also all the tools are provided in order to do this, namely a rig that has been customized quite a lot and has a bit of added functionality and some useful tricks to it, but later to that. First of all, we want to make sure that the object that we want to include into our pose is prepared properly. So it is, hold on, let me just remove this. It's not supposed to be seen right now. Later to this. Okay. So we have this simple TriShape Nif cigarette. Make sure that the object you're using is centered at 0, 0, 0 coordinates, that in the TriShape or in the knot does not have any translation or rotation data. If it has, make sure to zero it all out, or if it's visually in the center and you have numbers here, just right click, transform, apply. However, if you do that, make sure that this is actually a TriShape and not a SubIndex. If it's a SubIndex, to right click, block, convert, and turn it into a TriShape. We have already a TriShape, so we're good to go. The item cannot contain any collision data, it cannot contain any bone data, just really the flat TriShape of the object that we want to later on connect with a specific part of the body, namely the index finger. So, we have this prepared. Very good. Let me save this quick. No, I'm not going to close it. I'm going to minimize it. It is located in my meshes folder, draw meshes, sigl.nif. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is load up 3ds Max, and we're going to open the rig that you can find in the description below. Make sure to open that rig from the work folder where all the other items are in. This will be your work folder. If you save and export poses, they have to be exported into this very folder. And also if you save your pose in the end as a max file, it goes into this folder. Why would you save it as a max file? So you can continue later on and do adjustments to the pose, save it again, and so on. So I'm going to open it. Yada yada errors, we ignore them. So here we go, a nice modified cat rig. What is going to be important, you need to get used to the functionality of the schematic view. Here we are, first of all we have the CBBE body, which is actually the preset of my character, so you can exchange it and then freeze it so you can actually click through it, and it's basically just visually there but doesn't obfuscate anything. What I'm going to show you is these nifty little anim objects that have been added for more functionality and more anim objects at the same time. We're only going to need one cigarette in the left hand, so we're going to use, for the purpose of this tutorial, AnimObjectL2. Alright, so much for that. We have seen our schematic view, we're happy with it. Now we're going to import our object. Not open, we're going to use import, and I am already browsed to my folder where sigl.nif is located. Alright, I'm going to zoom a bit out and I see, yep, it's in the center on the floor, just like where we want to have it. it also appeared in our schematic view. We can drag it around. We're going to put it behind the AnimObjectL2, which we're going to use. Anyways, this is selected. Now we're going to click, nope, we're going to go click into this window here, so we can actually use shortcuts and it doesn't put a new name on this. We're going to click W, which brings up the move tool. E on the keyboard is the rotate tool. In this case, we just want to move it first, obviously into our left hand. So I'm going to raise it a little bit, put it here, and there, and I see it. Oh, I did something bad. Undo. The cigarette was not selected. Now it is. Okay, let me zoom in a little more. Not gonna do a perfect one here, just want to make sure that we have a test-worthy thing going on. If you do that, you may notice that you're gonna have view that when you rotate this, the reference lines don't rotate along, which makes it a bit difficult. Also, when you want to do rotations on the bone, it aligns with the world space, which is actually not what you want when you do poses. So we do local, and then we see that it's perfectly adjusted. I do undo again, because I don't want to change any bones just yet. I want to put the cigarette into place. Okay, almost there. Okay, that is where it is attached now. Or maybe turn it a little more like this. Oh, looking good. It is attached to this index finger, to this specific bone, finger 22. And that is actually our next step. We're going to connect the cigarette with that bone, and we do that by actually clicking on the cigarette. Then we click on this button up here, select a link, and now when we go with our mouse over the cigarette, we see this icon that actually means drag and drop. And what we do is we keep, oh my god, something is loading. We keep the left mouse button clicked and drag it on top of that bone we want to link it with. There we go. Did it work or not? We can see by checking in the schematic view. You see a green arrow, and that green arrow is actually coming all the way down from one of the fingers, finger 22. So that worked out very nice. Now we need to add constraints and connect them to the AnimObjectL2 that we're going to use to call and draw this item. And in order to do that, we select AnimObjectL2, we go in Animation, Constraints, Position Constraint, and now you see you have like a line going towards the mouse cursor coming from, yeah, okay, the top of the screen. It's actually coming from this AOS item. Anyways, we place it on our cigarette. There we go. Now we need to do the same. AnimObjectL2 is still selected. We're gonna do the same, Animation, Constraints, orientation constraint, and also we're gonna click on our cigarette. There we go. Now the locationing and connecting is all done. Very nice. Going to minimize that. Now if we actually want to make a pose here, we need to first of all set auto key, and now we can move our bones around, or this is when we should move our bones around. But before we do the pose, we need to add a couple of commands to the pose, or well, the animation that draws our object, loads it, and in the end unloads it again. And we do that, and I'm going to bring up the schematic view again, by selecting the root. And after selecting the root, we go on Graph Editors and open the Track View Dope sheet. This sheet is very dope and also very large. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Here we go. It may look a little bit different on what it loads here, but if you selected root, you will find it somewhere also marked, and what you're going to do is you expand it with the plus sign inside a circle, not inside the square. Circle, and then we're going to do the same with transform, and inside transform we are now going to need an annotation track. And what we do is to edit, we click on transform, we're going to go on edit, node track, add. Our node track is added, we click it, and now we're going to need 3 keys, 3 annotations, 3 commands, however you want to call them. We're going to take this function here, add keys. We're going to do left click, left click, left click. It doesn't matter where for starters, just that they're a bit separated. You're going to choose the move keys tool again, so you don't accidentally add any more keys. And you're going to right click the first one. That brings up the nodes interface where we can change all of them. And as I cycle here through 1, 2, 3, I cycle through these 3 nodes that were added in the node sheet. The time displayed here is actually the frame when this command is issued. First one is on 11, second one on 25, third on 38. We're going to change these in the end. Alright, first one. The anim object needs to be loaded, so it's anim object load. And then we need a unique variable here, remember? That unique variable is sig_l. Now we're going to the second one. You see it's updated, and we're going to name it anim object draw dot sig_l. Sig_l will be later referenced in the ESP. We're going to get to that. Now we're going to do the last one, which is just a generic anim object unequip. That unequips the object at the one before last frame. Alright, now I'm going back to the first one, and I'm going to put the time to 0. Our anim object is loaded. At time 0 I press return, but I don't actually need to. I can also just go to the next one. Anim object draw will be on time 1, and you see now they're kind of overlapping here. Anim object unequip will be on the last frame. Nope, not on the last one before, on frame 99. There, it's all the way gone somewhere in the end. Okay, that's it. Stuff is automatically saved here in the dope sheet. We can just close it and everything is good to go. Now we're going to actually make a little pose just to see when we export this if this actually worked. And yeah, we're not going to do something crazy. maybe just to show you something neat. If you the 3D view, we get the green one. Yeah, okay, we're roughly connected, maybe a bit too much. If you keep CTRL pressed and select another bone and you rotate them, then both fingers basically rotate at the same time. Can be useful. In this case, it doesn't really work because I bent one of those fingers too much. Alright, just so we see that it worked, let's move this arm a bit, and this arm a bit, and there, we're good to go. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to export our pose, and we are going to do CTRL A. We basically select everything, then we press the set keys button, and we're going to use the Havoc Content Tools export function, or that little button here does the same. Now, if you've already exported poses, you should be familiar with all this. We choose third person, we click on write to platform. Here we make sure that the folder is selected where the rig is in. Remember, needs to be saved right there. We are naming our HKX file SIG_test for testing purposes. I'm gonna do save. It hasn't actually saved it yet. Just presets the path. Also make sure in create skeleton that you have the Fallout4 rig, the third person rig txt here. / means in the same folder as where the rig is located, which is the same you get here when you choose it. That means you did everything right. Okay, now we're gonna do run configuration, and it actually saved the pose. Here we can see it, SIG_test HKX. You see 5 warnings, or at least I see 5 warnings. 5 warnings means it worked in my book, so we're good to go. Now we actually don't need 3ds Max anymore. At this point you may want to save the file as a copy, as another Max file, and you can then later on move things around and make cool object poses. Okay, so much for that. We have our HKX file created. I'm going to grab it, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into my pose folder, which is actors character animations draw. Here it is, SIG_test HKX. Remember I told you in the beginning we had to go back to our object in Nifskope, because what I hastily deleted in the beginning is the data that we need to add now. And I'm going to show you what we need to add. We go on node, attach extra data, and then knee string extra data without the S, not knee strings, just knee string extra data. That knee string extra data contains out of 2 basically text variables. The first one, you right click it, edit string index, and you type PRN. It doesn't mean porn, it's just some kind of hard-coded thing that needs to go there. String data, this is where we put the name of the anim object used on our rig. We remember this one, AnimObjectL2. So that's the name we want to see here. Again, we right click, edit string index, AnimObjectL2. Perfect. Now we can save it, and we have our NIF with the anim object. We have our pose, which is the pose. Now we need an ESP to load the whole stuff up in game. You can do it in Creation Kit. I'm gonna just do it in FL4 edit. if you want to do it in Creation Kit, it's largely the same process. You can just edit manually. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna load up any random pose mod that already contains anim objects, so I can bluntly steal the template and rename stuff. And I remember Ice Storm's poses had a couple of AOS thingies, so let's use that one. Here we go. We're gonna grab one of the animated objects. We're also gonna grab one of these poses, and we're gonna copy them into a new ESL that we create along the way. And how do we do that? We right click, copy as new record into, yes, of course, I'm sure. Gives us a couple of options to remove stuff on the naming. We don't care about that. We do okay, 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 yes. And we choose new file ESL because we want to have it lightweight, of course. Name, let's give it the name AOS test. Okay, let's minimize Ice Storm stuff. Here we go, AOS test. This is our ESL. Now the animated object, let's start with that. Here we need to put the same name, the same variable that we put after the dot in the dope sheet command entries. Remember anim object load dot, and then we had sig l. That needs to match, else this whole thing does not work. Alright, model, this is obviously our nif, which is located in straw, and then sig l dot nif. And here we have the unload event referenced. All good. Anim object complete. We go into the idle animation. We're gonna give it a unique name that is not one of the ones we used before. Let's do sig1 because maybe we're gonna do a couple of poses, or maybe not. And here we put the path to our pose, the HKX file. Since it's a bit long, I'm gonna copy paste it from my text file on the second screen. And we named it, remember, sigtest.hkx. Right, okay, this is basically it. If I didn't forget anything. Nope. Let's quit this F4 edit. It automatically saves it or offers us to save it. We agree. I'm using Vortex. Vortex automatically updates the plugins and activates them as soon as they're in the folder. Here we go, and we can all test it in game. Alright, yeah, thank you for staying with me. Let me use the opportunity while this game loads to give a big thanks to Engine Gaming for basically teaching me how the animated objects work, and for also preparing this neat rig with all its functionality. Engine Gaming has been a big help, really invaluable in the past week. Big shout out there. Alright, I'm expecting this to work. If not, I'm just gonna die. That's how things work. First iteration success is a rare thing, but let's see. Yeah, welcome to my little pose lab. This is not Alita, her name is actually Lara, but yeah, that's kind of the character name I gave her a long time ago. Play idle sig1. That is the name that we gave the pose in the ESP. And we see it worked. Here we go. You see it is blinking a little bit, and that is that the one frame, the frame 100, after the anim object is unloaded on frame 99, where you don't see it, and it's instantly loaded again as it repeats an infinite amount of times, or 255 times maybe, I don't know, I don't care. But yeah, that's a common thing. You will see that on every mod that adds items through by these means. For some reason it doesn't work when you put it on the last frame, so we'll have to live with that and hope we don't catch the screenshot in that very frame where it actually disappears. Legends say that has happened already. Okay. Thank you for watching this. Remember, in the description below I put some additional info, as well as the rig and the files needed along with the rig in the same folder. And have a nice day, and hope to see some poses with animated objects in the future. Bye bye.